Hey movie fans, hope you like the new intro, showing that off for the first time this week. So, continuing with our theme for 5 good things in this horror-themed month, boy did we watch a train wreck. Texas Chainsaw, no, not the classic, directed by Tobe Hooper. We watched the sequel. Yes, they made a sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I don't know why they just called it Texas Chainsaw, because I think more people died this time around, making it more of a massacre. But Josh, what are one of the good things about this movie, starting us off at number 5? Because believe it or not, we did find 5 things.
Which is all the references and kind of the themes that you get from the original that kind of find their ways into this one. Because there's a lot of things for the original that make it good. It's the reason why it's a classic in the horror scary movie genre. And a lot of those themes make their way back into here. A lot of the how would you describe them? Story plot, the plot devices.
Certain characters changing sides of like, oh, you thought they were trustworthy, but they end up being bad guys.
No, dumb plot twist.
Yeah, like this movie. That's one of the negatives, but in some respects it's kind of a positive. It reminds you that you're watching a Texas Chainsaw movie, which, I mean, it's fine at times, other times it gets really annoying, but it knows that the people that are going to go watch this are the ones that are in love with the original movie, and so they're going to pick up on more references, like we said, the themes and stuff.
So it's interesting, though, because then we're already into this movie where we're expecting the themes and the references from the original already because of the intro, and they kind of like flash your way all the way through the first one, and then because of that, you're like, okay, now I have this movie figured out then, because that person's going to do that person's going to do this, but then you get maybe 5-10 minutes later,
it's a swerve because, like we said, you're going to watch this movie because you've already seen the original. Yeah. So you're like, oh, they did this, and they did something different. Now, does it often work? Not usually. But there's a couple times that it pulls it off, and I give them points for having the guts to go, alright, we're going to play beat for beat. Except here, where we're going to do a nice little swerve. And one element, which takes us into our number 4, which resembled a little bit of the original, but kind of upped the ante a little bit, was Leatherface's mask. Masks, for Leatherface, they were unsettling. They were creepy. Like, okay, I definitely run from this. This is creeping me out a little bit.
And I think you brought up the point, and I would agree with this, that that was kind of, for Halloween, that was kind of an issue that they kind of had. Yeah, it's like the mask is like, he's terrifying because he's like 70 feet tall, and you've seen him kill people with this.
But Mike Myers is creepy because it's a white mask.
Yeah,
not because
exactly.
It's all charred and nasty, which is something Rob Zombie failed to realize. Is you always see him in the background because of this white, and knowing that he's there is what makes it scary. Whereas the Leatherface killer, he's scary because of that mask. Makes his actual face more scary and intimidating because you don't have the buildup of the Michael of knowing he's there. He's always there, bang, in a flash, and so when he's there, you need a startling face to scare you.
Yes.
A blank white face isn't going to do that. Sorry, Michael. But in the stereotypical horror fashion, there's always that one, if any, but there's always that one person that survives. And in this case, that's actress Alexandra Daddario, who you've actually seen in either True Detective or the Percy Jackson movies. She's been in stuff. Recently, she was in San Andreas with The Rock. But she actually, in terms of horror movie heroines, she's one of the better ones. She's not in the same league as, like, Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween.
Yeah.
But
can we call her a heroine? In this movie, can we call her that?
There's no heroes in this movie, which kind of is interesting, and we'll get to that when we get to our number 1. But there really are no heroes. But in terms of, she's tough.
She does a good job, especially when they kind of bring in, the story plots that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Yeah. And you can actually, like, when she like claims her identity as a Sawyer, all of a sudden she gets like she's got this look in her eye.
Something clicks, and it's not good.
No, and you're actually kind of like unsettled by it, and it just.
It's a performance that required multiple facets, and she nailed each one of them very well. Of at first being very, very scared, then more or less going on the offensive at times, and going, "I'm gonna find help. I'm gonna do some investigating because no one in this town wants to help me with this," and then ultimately, basically accepting her heritage. But we'll get to that in our number 1. Our number 2 point kind of actually goes back to our original point that we made for number 5, which references the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, in that the way that Leatherface attacks is very, very similar, and what Josh likes to call Blitz Attacks.
Yeah.
So Josh, explain what we mean by Blitz Attack.
A big part of what makes it a blitz attack is, I mean, if you know football, and I love football, I'm an American who doesn't, is it happens suddenly, and it ends just about as suddenly as well. And a lot of the tension that's built up in these kills is done a lot through the camera work, because. Like, specifically, like, you and I loved that police scene, with the police officers going down, and the whole time you're like, dude, you're an idiot. Stop. You're an idiot. But the way that the camera switches to different locations, because in this slasher, sometimes when a camera's creeping up on somebody, you're like, oh, that's the killer.
Take the perspective of the
killer. But it does that, and you're like, oh, he's gonna die. No, but it's not happening.
Yeah, there's a scene in particular where a cop comes in, and you get this behind the back shot of him, so you're like, oh, so Leatherface is behind him, and he's just gonna nix him up. Nothing happens. The scene goes on for another 2 or 3 minutes, and so it's like, once like you let the air out, you're like, relax.
Okay, we're good.
Bam! That's when Leatherface comes in, and it's over as quickly as it comes, and then you're like jarred, and it just kind of stays with you because you got all settled back in after this tension built, and you're like, okay, I'm starting to get relaxed again. And when it worked, it really worked. It was really effective. And the original Texas Chainsaw did the exact same thing. It wasn't like Halloween where you saw Michael or you saw Freddy coming towards you. It was like a slow burn where you slowly saw it coming towards you little by little. This was, boom, he's on you, it's too late.
It's over, you're dead. I would agree. And I think, like, the one specifically, the kill that really, like, embodies this blitz attack kind of way that Jedediah does things is actually, I think, the first one.
Yeah.
Where he's like the, what's his name?
The most
Daryl or whatever?
I forgot his name, I just know him as Thief Number 1. Basically, it's one of the exact same kills from the original Texas Chainsaw of, opens the door, hey, it's Leatherface, you're gone, boom. And it just ends. But
it's interesting, though, because I personally was sitting there going, okay, he's going to open the door and Leatherface is going to be right there. But he opens it, and nothing happens. And you're like, okay, I'm good. And then it happens, you're like, oh, crap.
Because it built you up to, we talked about this earlier, it builds you up to a spot where you think it's going to happen because you've already seen this movie played out. But then it doesn't, and it attacks you at a different angle, which was really, really smart in some aspects. And our number 1 is that it expanded the story told in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't a direct sequel per se. Think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre like this little circle, self-contained story. What this movie did was not like connect the dots so much as it just expanded that bubble. It created a surrounding story for that circle story to be contained into. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you have some kids that are shipwrecked, their van crashes or whatever, and they seek some help from these psychos basically. But that's only part of the story. The greater scheme is more or less they were involved in a more or less modern day version of Hatfields and McCoys, really, of a turf war.
I would say more a family feud, I think. Yeah. The turf war makes it sound like
they're establishing dominance or something.
Yeah, no, but it's really just like a family feud of I've forgotten their names. It's the Carsons and the Sawyers versus...
Yeah.
Are we ever told what their last names are?
I think they say it once in passing.
Hartmans?
It's something with an H.
They're
Bret the Hitman Hart is the bad guy in this.
Yes!
I would have paid to see that.
That would have been beautiful.
In terms of killers, he's the best there was, the best there is, and the best there ever will be.
Better believe it.
Yep. But it's not, unfortunately, Bret the Hitman Hart in this.
No real rhyme or reason for why this family hates the Carson Sawyers. Like, there's really no reason at all. They just don't like
They're a weird fan. Like, Leatherface, we're not trying to defend Leatherface at all in this circumstance. That's the weird thing. That's the weird thing is there's no heroes or good guys in this. Because at some point or another, every single person in this movie does something bad to make you think, you are definitely not a good guy here. I like you more than the other guy, so you're the lesser of two evils here. Like, by the end of it, you're like, Leatherface, oh, okay. I still don't like you for all the stuff that you did in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but you're on level footing with everyone else in this movie because their actions are so heinous, like yours.
Oh yeah, like for example, when you kind of catch on when he kills the cop, but he's got a picture of everyone that burned his entire family. Like, this is Leatherface, and he's like Xing people's faces out when he axes them off, and it's you almost, I'm gonna say root for him because you're like, yeah, get him back.
This to your family.
Yeah, get him back. You got this. But it's still, like you said, it's the lesser of the two evils. Even though he's done some awful things, in a weird way, you cheer for him in this movie, and I don't know how I feel about that at all.
Yeah, you kind of it makes sense as to why he wants to go after this family, but that wasn't apparent in the first half of this because he's just doing his Leatherface thing of chainsawing teenagers. But the second half of it, like we've said, is just a revenge story, making him just like a loyal guy. Leave his family alone, and he'll kind of just leave you alone because they just tuck him away in this basement. So don't touch his family, and you'll be fine. It was our hardest top 5 to do because it wasn't so bad that it was enjoyable. It just
was painful.
It was just meh. But
I think for me, the scene that really just encompasses this whole film for me and how I felt about it was the final scene when she is kind of accepted her role that she has to take care of Jedediah, and she they have this stare down in the basement, and she starts
mutual respect.
A little bit, but there's this weird tension in the air, and she takes a step forward to go for the plate, and he thinks that she's gonna come into his space, and he's like, no. Yeah. And it's weird because you almost feel like if she makes a mistake in the future, she's gone. And so you end on this really weird tension mark, and that's how I felt. That's how I felt the entire movie.
You didn't really know what to make of that movie.
Exactly.
That's probably not a good thing, but it made for some good tension of not knowing, because it is basically poor writing as to why you're so confused for this movie.
Oh yeah.
So, have you seen Texas Chainsaw? Not Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but Texas Chainsaw. And if so, what did you think? Well, if you like what you see and you want to see more, subscribe to the channel, or find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at 17 Movie Reviews. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals.